We were handed it. But welfare gave us all that we needed to say, fuck that nigga. And then we wonder why we have to return our children to their fathers, which is the prison system. Because the government is your baby daddy. Now give us our son. We fed him through food stamps. We housed him through HUD and Section 8. We the baby daddy.
They gave us welfare and we said to hell with the black man. At first, it wasn't intentional. It was necessary. It was survival. It was, we gotta eat. It was, we gotta make it. But what started as survival turned into a system, and then turned into a culture, and then turned into a generation. They gave us replacement fathers. No man in the house. No husband on the paperwork. No black male authority allowed under the roof. We raised them long enough to send them back to their father, the state. They fed them. They educated them. They incarcerated them. They told them who they were. Now everybody want to act confused around why black men feel disposable, why black women feel abandoned, and why the family is fractured. They told us independence was empowerment, but what they really sold us was isolation. They told black men they weren't needed. They told black women that they didn't need protection. And they told the children that authority wears a badge.
And speaking to that, I thought about this when she said that, right? Isaiah 42:22. But this is a people that is robbed and wasted, all right? Robbed, like I said, go and look at the Red Summer, right? Politicians, the black man was, I hate using that word because we're not black, period. But when I say it, you understand what I'm talking about. But the black man, he was robbed, basically kicked out of office if he didn't flee and leave certain states like Tennessee, North Carolina, South Carolina, these places during the years of the Red Summer. The white mobs killed them, right? I mean, it was just that simple. And you got to ask yourself, if you weren't taught to read, you weren't taught to write, you just came out of slavery and the plantations, then how were you even qualified to run an office? The oppressor didn't like the people that were oppressing you didn't like you that much where they would say, oh yeah, hey, you who just got off the field, yeah, who can barely speak English, come over here and represent the people of the state, not just your people of the state. Come over here and represent them. What sense does that make? See what I'm saying? Like the whole story that they came over here and brought you over as slaves is BS. That's what I'm trying to say. You know, look at Prince when he talks about the presidents that were before President Washington. There was a history here before that. Thomas Jefferson, what did Thomas Jefferson say? He said that they came here and they conquered an empire, right? This is a quote about the banks. Foreign banks are allowed to print and issue the money and control the value of it, how they were going to end up having the people that conquer this land eventually homeless. And that's what we're living through right now. So, I mean, he was spot on. That's why he kept destroying and closing the banks and wanted a bank that wasn't foreign to America. But anyways, so you got that issue. You look at Black Wall Street, right? Again, people that just got off the slave plantations, they're in Oklahoma, right? Native Americans were sent to Oklahoma. If you believe the story from the Trail of Tears, okay, how did they formulate communities? They were into oil, they were into land, they were inventing machines, the cotton gin, all these different things. How are they doing that if they were uneducated on purpose? They were taught not to read. They weren't sent to school, and these things. They just did this all of a sudden. As soon as they got off the plantations, they were able to just like, hey, we're on this, we can build a thriving economy too. See, the story just doesn't math and doesn't add up unless, I'm right. They were already here. People from Europe were eventually were given the permission to come here via the Catholic Church when it switched hands. They gave the paperwork. Go read it. Go read their papal bulls. This is the paperwork that told them that they could go to different lands and set up shop if those different lands didn't know about Jesus Christ. So, anyways, getting back to this. So yeah, the people that were robbed and wasted, they are all the snare of young men. And they are hid in the house of prisons. All right. Again, I don't take it as criticism. I almost hear it as it's a reminder of fulfillment of prophecy. Okay, think about it. 14% of the population, but yet you commit 90% of the crime. Here's the Most High people. You're sitting in prison. How did you get there? You didn't get there for being saints. All right. You see that? Okay. So when she's talking about, you turn back over to the Father, it was prophesied. This is going to happen. Think about it. Abraham Lincoln. Oh, he freed the slaves through emancipation. Well, when you look up the legal definition of emancipation means to switch ownership. So meaning the one person that owns you as a slave no longer exists. All right. No one individual can own another person as a slave. That's right. But it didn't tell you that the state can't own you as a slave. And therefore they do with the birth certificate. That's why they don't even need the father's signature. They just need the mother's signature, right? Because the mother is now, in their eyes, in legalese, she is the agent on working on the behalf of the state, the agent against the father. That's why she could put a man's name down there, and it could be any man's name, and it doesn't even matter if it's the right man or not, right? They don't care. This woman just turned over the male's property. He took his seed, and now it's gone. So he can't further his empire. He can't further a kingdom. He can't further any of that stuff. He can't even build that stuff, right? It belongs to the state. So, let's see. They are made and there's none that deliver them, a spoil that is none. All right, let me get to another one. And here's what she was saying about the youth, how she says they wear disobedience as a badge. The youth oppress my people. Women rule over their men. And there it is. There's that whole where she said in the beginning, the first lady said, once they got everything they need from the state, they're like, F these men, F them, we don't need them, you know? And there's plenty of people who do videos and podcasts showing you how difficult it is for the quote unquote black man and black woman, the Afro-Asiatic man and woman to get along, right? And I mean, there's plenty of people who make a living off of that and calling them all kinds of names and stuff like that. It's right there. Let's see. Let's see. My people, your guides will lead you astray. They turn you from your path. Yeah, that's not hard to figure out. So, but there's hope. There's hope that all this dysfunction in the families will be done away with, because he says here in Malachi, right? And he shall turn the hearts of the fathers to the children, and the hearts of the children to their fathers, lest I come and strike the earth with anathema, a curse, right? A curse or destruction, you know. So it's not all bleak. It's a punishment, like I said. You know, many times you'll see people try to justify and say that, oh, this stuff has already been done away with. That was in Babylon. That was in the captivity of Babylon. This stuff was supposed to happen. But as you read, these prophecies are about the future. Okay. And even some of them will, you know, will, if you look it up, they'll tell you that it's about the end times. All right. So some we're living through, others are not here yet. But yeah, I mean, so don't get upset. Like, I mean, look, I can even show you, right? All these mulattoes, right? These guys get upset. Oh, you know, I don't, you know, all these women got these mixed babies, you know, get with a black man, you know, he'll leave you. That's because his heart's not turned towards his children, right? That's the only reason why a man would leave his own flesh and blood. His heart's not turned towards his children, right? Remember, the Most High hardened Pharaoh's heart. How many times? Until he finally stopped and the Pharaoh let the people go. You know, it's all a plan. Like, look. So you got to read the book of Daniel to understand what the mulatto children are for. All right. This is something that he's done. You know, they always talk about like there's one black sheep in every family. You never notice like there's like one in almost every family where they'll make a mulatto baby out of nowhere. You know, just at random. It seems like. And yeah, no, if you read the book of Daniel, you'll understand that's what it was for. The Most High, he said he was going to, how would you say it? He was going to mix his children in with the other nations. But it's for a specific reason. He, you know, I don't know how to go into it. So, but yeah, a lot of the answers are there. Like read Deuteronomy 28. The curses are all there. You'll have a field and someone else will come and take it away. You'll have a wife and someone else will come take her. And these are all curses that come upon you consecutively. Like that's the other thing. People like to nitpick. Well, this curse happened, but it can happen. It just happened. Like he says, this stuff will happen in your own land. And when you look at the history of the quote unquote slavery in America amongst the black people, they fit this all to a T. And they love to say, oh, this stuff happened in Babylon. Who's to say America is not Babylon? I remember growing up, people in the church would always say, this place is Babylon. And you say, well, it's got to be in the physical Babylon. Well, once we read the Old Testament, it tells you all these different stages of Babylon. There's Babylon. There's Babylon's side chick, the one with the big W. There's the daughter of Babylon. There's these different levels of Babylon. It's not just one, how would you say it, one function, because it seems like the characteristics that made up Babylon, because it's spiritual, is the only way I could see it. Like, think about it, right? They tell you that the Talmud, right, comes out of Babylon. So Babylon's done away with. But somebody took the writings that were in Babylon and preserved them. So now what was practiced in Babylon years ago is being practiced today all over again. And those teachings are what? Spiritual teachings. So then Babylon, like a phoenix, rises from the ashes, right? The melting pot, the hashmash, read was it Micah? The Most High says he's going to gather his people out of the multitude of many people in the land.